back, Wheatley, and welcome to episode 75 of the Weekly podcast. Thank you very much to Emer Barry for last week coming on and talking about all things opera. And I was really out of my depth on that sense, but I managed to sneak in some film talk in as well and talked about how opera is kind of portrayed within films and how it's, seen as otherworldly or like we are somehow beneath it or something. And we had a good chat about that. And Emer was great crack, and it was a great episode. And I hope everyone enjoyed it. Of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you wouldn't mind. It helps an awful lot just to kind of push it out there and get it going. I'm using my chill. What's it called? A Chill Max Air fan for the first time, donated by our number one fan. That actually wasn't meant to be a pun, but it actually was in the end. But yeah, it's nice because I've talked about it before how warm this corner is, and it's a lovely day outside today, and it's nice to have the fan just kind of blowing there beside me. So I'm happy enough with that. So let's get on with the episode. I'd like to introduce Sarah as the lady behind Sarah Breslin Wellness, which focuses on many things, but gut health being a big part of it. Sarah Breslin, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. I said your name 3 times in the introduction. That definitely is a record. I usually leave it to the last bit, but the fact it's in the title. Um, yeah, I just want to. I got my vaccine yesterday, the first vaccine,
Mhm.
and I just want to kind of. You've been vaccinated once.
No, I actually got my second one on Thursday.
Oh, brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah, I've talked about this in the podcast many times about how anxious I get about going to new places or places that I don't know the layout of. So I was very anxious like the day before and yesterday morning. So fortunately my housemate drove me over, and I was very very nervous, and the thing I was looking forward to the most was the actual needle, because then I knew I was kind of on my way out. I'd have the last 15 minutes and then I could go.
Yes.
So yeah, it was so well run in there. It was in the Athlone College, and it was so well run in that. But it's just for me that the build up and for things like that can be quite difficult, and anxiety wise. So I'm glad I got it out of the way. I'll be fine for the second one because now I know what it looks like and where we need to go and all the layout and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, and it was very, you know, I suppose we kind of, well, I and other people will kind of mock Ireland because we don't seem to be in control of things, or we're not as regimental looking when it comes to cues and things like that. But it really was so well drilled and very, very organized. And I'm glad I got it done. Just wanted to bring that up while I
Very
had the,
good. Yeah,
the
I have
mic.
to say, I found it the very same. I was in City West and like was so impressed the first time for my first one, and then yesterday was even quicker. It was even way more efficient. Like, and
Mm,
exactly, I agree 100%. We're not renowned for our
mm.
organizational skills. Let's say we're a bit fly by the seat of the pants things, but it's been amazing. I have to say, hats off to everybody involved because it's been really well done, in my opinion. Anyway, my experience. So
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure, and it's kind of the same across the board when it comes to people I know who've told me that they've been to, whether it's been to Athlone or whether it's been to doctor surgeries and stuff. So it's really great that it's working out that way. Um, so Sarah, tell us a short history of your upbringing, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, so I'm one of seven. I'm exactly in the middle. I've a brother and two sisters older, and a brother and two sisters younger than me. So a bit of the middle child syndrome there.
Yeah, I have it.
Um, so you can imagine a very busy household. There was always noise, always people, always stuff going on in our house. Um, got involved in athletics when I was about six with the rest of the family, and like kept that going probably right till I was about 16 or 17. And sport was a big, huge part of our lives. So also played soccer, did cross country. And, back in those days, there was lots of community stuff going on. So we all did a bit of everything, even
Mm,
if it wasn't your area, you had to go with it because there was pals doing it, or, they needed somebody else to make up the numbers. So everybody just went along and joined in.
yeah.
And there was a great sense of community and a lot of families who were involved. So yes, I did swimming and basketball, a bit of everything. Um, so that was like the upbringing was pretty decent, I would say, Um, and once I finished school, then I went to England to work because I had messed up my CAO. And I didn't actually really know what to do anyway. So, like when it came to it, I was terrified to go to college, really, if I'm truthful. So I went to England to work and got some experience there, and eventually came back and worked in the bank here in Ireland, Dublin. And from there, I moved into kind of IT projects, and eventually exited all that and moved into my wellness uh,
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Um, I need to mention that your sister was on back. Actually, I had to check yesterday because I knew episode 36. So it's so long ago. But it was back on the 5th of October. Ginny was on. Uh very fortunate to call her a friend now. And she refuses to believe that it is one of my favorite episodes, even though, and she's going to kill me for saying this, but even though like on a questions episode, people ask me who are your three favorite guests, and Ginny was mentioned, and she still doesn't believe it. But
I'm
what can
not
you do?
surprised.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So when did you first become aware of mental health?
I have been thinking about this, and I kind of think in my early teens myself, I definitely probably was aware of it, but it wasn't a name on it.
Mm,
Mental health wasn't something that we talked about or understood or anything, you know. But I know in myself when I was in my teens, say my late teens or whatever, you know, coming up to leaving certain that, I definitely felt anxiety, stress, you know, probably mild depression. I wouldn't even call it depression, probably low mood and stuff
mm,
like that. And then of course, my brother, as Ginny mentioned, you know, had some issues as well around anxiety and things like that. So there was awareness of it in the household, but I wouldn't have felt that I engaged with it necessarily. Um, but I do think I must have had an awareness, and I've been thinking, like, where did I think about it? Or where did I figure out how to deal with it, or that I
mm.
knew there was something else there? I really can't figure that out. It just, my journey started probably when I was in my leaving cert year, and um, you know, I realized, okay, I should feel better, so why don't I? And that
Mm.
was kind of the start of it for me, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm really starting to kind of love that question, and I know people the odd time will worry about what I mean by it, or whether I expect people to remember exactly when they first heard of it, and it's not. It's not about that, but it's like you say there that there was an awareness of it without a name on it, and I
Yeah,
think for people in of a certain age, like it'll be like that. That was the same as for myself, but going to maybe 20-year-olds now will hear about it in a different way, and then younger again, and
yeah, yeah.
obviously we want it to be more promoted and to be kind of talked a bit about more. So what prompted you to set up the wellness business?
Um, well, I was looking for a way out of the hectic banking
Mm,
IT lifestyle, because like I, even when though I was doing it and it was going great and everything, I always knew I wanted to exit it somehow. And um I figured out that I wanted to do something to help people,
mm,
to make a difference to them at the end of the day, because the work I did didn't really do that. It was like, you know, quite anonymous in
yeah.
the benefits of it. Um, and I had been having my own issues all through my life with, I had skin problems, low mood, um, and I would have had like IBS, gut issues all through my life. So I decided that I wanted to do something that in that area that would help people. I had experienced treatments with some skin care people
Mm,
who had helped me massively. So I wanted to go down that route. And I started with aromatherapy. And when I started aromatherapy, I was introduced to massage. And when I started massage treatments, I was like, oh my God, this is it. I'm made to do this. This is what I want to do. So that was where I started with that. But it took a couple of years to get all the training and qualifications and to figure out where I wanted to be with it. So eventually I did leave the bank, and I was lucky enough I got some contracts that I could do from home, and so I did the two hand in hand for a couple of years, and then went into it full time from my home once I was set up and ready to go.
brilliant. And like you say there about you wanted to go into help people out with certain issues that they may have, like, and this has come up a couple of times, and I think if it's an Irish thing, it's possible an Irish thing, but when I kind of ask the question is like, what do you take from helping people out? And I think people like immediately get a bit worried that they're going to sound like, oh, I did this just to help people because I'm a hero and all that. And it's not about that. The question isn't really about that. It's like what you take from it with regards to your just how you feel every day. And it doesn't have to be a mental health thing, but just a general health thing.
Yeah, I think it's what keeps me grounded and present. Like I find like I'm into meditation and mindfulness, but I find I'm a moving meditator.
Mm,
When I'm doing a massage, that's my meditation practice. Really, I get all my most amazing ideas when I'm doing a massage. It's like, the whatever they say, the brain that's controlling my movements
mm,
is busy, so the other side can come to the fore and whatever. So I find that like really just meditative. It's just like my happy place. I feel like my hands have been made to do this. My mind and my body knows how to do it, and they can, I can generate the right energy that connects with the
mm.
person in the right way in the right that moment on that day, and that it works for me and for them. So like it is a give and take thing. I receive a moment of clarity, of positivity. I feel connected, I feel fulfilled because I'm doing something that I really enjoy and that I'm connected to and is part of my purpose.
Mm.
So I receive all that, even
Yeah.
though I'm giving the treatment. And I
Yeah.
think because that's the energy I work from, then it becomes a good treatment as well. So
Yeah. I really like getting massages, and I recently I bought a massage gun, and it's great and all that. Like it's a good investment. If you're at home, get 10, 20 minutes after a run or something on your legs. It's really good. But it's not the same thing for me as a proper massage. And what I've kind of missed about not getting a massage is the kind of uh, connection with somebody else, right? And just in the form, because touch is such an important,
absolutely, yeah.
it's such an important thing, and it doesn't matter if it's someone that you're married to or someone that you're getting a massage from. It's such an important kind of aspect, and there is a relaxation, and there's a meditative kind of aspect for the person getting the massage as well, because you're obviously literally lying there with your eyes closed, and you're getting a great like feeling from it. And
Yeah,
I've missed that
yeah,
throughout, what's gone on in the last year and a half. That
yeah.
kind of touch side of it.
Yeah, and like a lot of my client work beforehand would have been like, because I do massage cupping, so it would have been a lot of
Mm,
like dealing with painful areas or issues that they may have. Every single person that has come through the door since I reopened is just, I just want to relax and unwind.
mm,
It's like they need to take a deep breath
yeah,
and just let it out. Let
yeah,
that sigh out, and in doing having the massage, because they have to lie there for an hour, so it helps you to disconnect
mm,
from what you've been doing out in the world. And there's usually silence, and even people might chat, but they get to a certain moment where all of a sudden it's just silent,
yeah,
and then okay, they've taken the breath now, they've got it out of their system. So yeah, definitely, uh people have missed that, especially when like there's been no hugs,
mm,
there's been no sports, even though like it's contact or whatever, like even holding the hands of people and
mm,
the kids holding hands going to school. Like there's just been a whole lack of that touch element. And
yeah.
especially people who live on their own, work on their own, they don't go anywhere, they don't see anybody. And, it's like, even for me, when my clients come in, I'm just ready to hug them, but I know I can't.
Yeah, there's also that thing that you mentioned there about the talking aspect, and I got to know like one of the girls that was massaging me in a certain. This was back, could have been about 15 years ago now. So, but obviously I was going on a regular basis because I had a lower back problem,
Mm.
and obviously I was chatting away to her. But then if you're in with someone else, there might be like a nervous element, and I think some people are put off by massages because they think it'll be uncomfortable, and
Yeah.
it really is anything but once you get them in. Like I've told people if they've had an injury in training or something to kind of go and get a rub on it, but there's a nervousness and a kind of social awkwardness to it that people think it's going to be a big thing, kind of forgetting that the person giving the massage has done it so many times that it's just to them it's nothing. It's not a big thing for the two of you. It might be for you in your head. So I would definitely tell people to go get a massage. And cupping is something that I've had once recently,
Mhm.
and that was brilliant as well. I found a great benefit from that.
Yeah.
So I would say people should just go and
Yeah.
enjoy it.
I like, and that's exactly a really, really good point, because people think you have to be injured or
Mm.
in pain, or it's just about pampering. It's like there's the three categories, but the people that benefit the most are my clients that come regularly. They come every month, once a month, every month. And, after the first few visits, it's no longer about what are we dealing with today. It's
Mm.
just like everything's fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Because they've built it into their life and it's part of their maintenance. And actually, one of them was exactly like you're saying there. She was in a training program and she was told that she'd have to have a regular massage in order to be able to continue with the training program. But she was like, I don't want to get battered. I don't want to be hurt.
Mm.
I hate those kind of massages. So she got referred on to me, and now she's like a lifelong client. She's been to me for the last 5 years, and for that reason. And like, I think that's an important element of us as massage therapists, that
Mm.
we need to tune into the people, and that not every massage is the same, and not every massage should be at the same intensity
Mm.
or firmness, that you should be able to adapt to the person, and like that's how I like to work. It's like, how are you presenting to me today?
Mm.
It's not about what last week or last month, or it's right here, right now. Everything, as they say in all the mindfulness stuff, it's about right now, the present
Mm.
moment. So some people will come in and I know they do not need any of the cupping today. They
Yeah.
just need to get on that couch and just zone out, and we'll just focus on that,
Yeah.
and that's enough. And then the next day they might be really in a good place. So we'll go back doing some deeper work, maybe with cupping, or some days it might be they just need their face done, or their ears, their sinuses, So it's
Mm.
about tuning into the person. That's the
Yeah.
whole point of the exercise for me.
Yeah, and also that, if someone is going to you for a few sessions, and you realize after maybe the first or second session that there's a certain pressure that they want you to put on certain areas that won't work on other areas because there may be more tender there and everything. So it's a bit, at least, it's a two-way thing where there's an adjustment by each person to get the right kind of result. So I think it's,
Yeah.
figure it out that way is the way to go. How do you think you've changed with the business?
Oh, I have a lot more faith in myself now. And I think that comes from the business side of things
Mm.
working well, not so much the massage. Like, I always felt instinctive about doing my massage, my treatments, my facials, whatever it was I was doing, colonics. I always felt that was I had an instinct for it,
Mm.
that came easy to me. I understood what was needed of me. Um, the thing for me that has really given me faith and more strength in myself is that I have created a successful business.
Mm.
I have done the what needed to be done. I've done all that side of the promotion, the marketing, the social media, interviews, all that kind of thing, the finances. I've put all that stuff in place and I've created, and now I have a viable business.
Mm.
And you know that, it to me is a really valuable understanding about myself, to know that you can, that makes it successful
Mm.
in a way. To me,
Yeah.
a lot of therapists don't get to that point. They're like, I remember looking at other therapists thinking, how can they afford to go on holiday?
Yeah, there's and the thing is, and we'll get to it later on, but you're still evolving as a business person as well, which is, and I'm sure as someone who's treating patients, you are too. So it's a ever kind of evolving thing for you, which is brilliant. Let me just, speaking of business, let me just get this out of the way. That makes it sound bad, but anyway. Fusion Training Centre, Monksland Athlone, a place to train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing, martial arts and CrossFit. A great atmosphere with experienced coaches and a real sense of community. If you want to join the team, find us on Facebook at Fusion Training Centre or drop in for a chat. Fusion Training Centre, train like a warrior. I was very professional that time.
Mm.
Thank you. So can you explain the I suppose the science behind colonics?
Well, a colonic at its most basic level is an internal bath
Mm.
for your bowel. So just like you have a shower to clean your skin, you have a colonic to clean your bowel. And like most colonics will just be water, filtered water. They don't necessarily have anything else in them. Um, and that's the whole idea, is just to cleanse the bowel, so that it's like your bowel is your main um, process of elimination.
Mm.
So all the waste, the majority of the waste that your body has to get rid of, comes through your bowel. So you want to make sure that that gets out of your body and not stays in there. I always liken it to your bin, your wheelie bin. Is like if it doesn't get emptied every week, well, the rubbish just starts to build up in it,
Mm.
and then it starts to stink and might even overflow and start causing problems around it. But even if it does get emptied on a regular basis, every now and again you have to wash it down
Mm.
because stuff gets stuck to the sides or sits in the bottom or whatever. So, and if you don't do that, you get all the problems with the bad smells and bugs start to appear and things like that. So basically that's what we're trying to do for your bowel. We're trying to keep it as clean as possible so that it can function at its highest level.
Mm.
And when it's functioning at its highest level, all the other parts of your system or the other functions of your system, they work better because they've somewhere to send the rubbish.
Yeah, there's we're very squeamish around it. I think there's a lot of people are very squeamish around colonics, and I suppose I would have been a few years ago, to be fair. But um, there's that thing of it almost being like a mini invasion of the body, when someone's getting a colonic. And I think the people that have spoken to who have had one, um, it's not that they've never come back with like negative opinions of it, but there's always like, oh yeah, it felt good, but then they said, oh, but it was weird because I had to like run to the toilet or whatever it was. And to me, like that does stick. That was kind of a worry point to me. It was like that sticking where you're in a room with a person that you didn't know to begin with. We'll say if it's a first appointment, and it's because I guess it's such a private thing that
Yeah.
people are a little bit squeamish about it. Do you feel that like do you feel like you have to talk some people through it a lot when they're
Yeah.
first meeting? Obviously, when it's second or third, it's a different story.
Yeah, and like that's how what I see is my job as a colonic therapist is to put the person at ease,
Mm.
to create empathy, to create a connection. Because like a lot of my clients, they say that they always say thank you for making that so much easier than I thought it was going to be. And everybody who comes in for the first time is nervous.
Mm.
And like I always congratulate them for getting through the door because that's actually the hardest part of it, actually to get yourself in through the door. So, I say, and that's my job is to make a connection with them so they can feel comfortable around me. So then we can progress with the treatment.
Mm.
And like you are in a vulnerable space, and the thing about it is that um, it's about control. And when you're having a colonic, you lose a certain amount of that sense of control because it's no longer your brain that is making the decisions for what's happening in your body. Your body is in charge.
Mm.
And that's a very difficult thing for us to relinquish. We need to be in control. That's who we are. That's how we function in the outside world. So when there's that sense of a loss of control over our physical bodies, it's very scary.
Mm.
So my job is to make it happen as gently as possible so you can ease into the experience and understand what's happening at every moment. And again, like with the massage, that we're tuning into what's going on with you right now, today, in this moment, and
Mm.
what's it bringing up and how is it making you feel. um and like to know that we can stop at any time. You're totally in control. It's never going to go too far. Everything is set up for the treatment. So I've done probably about 6 or 7 thousand of them at this stage. So I kind of think I know what's
Yeah.
what's what's possible to happen. So yeah, so it's about making the person feel as comfortable as possible because colonics are about letting go.
Mm.
If you're all tense and uptight, you're not going to let go.
Yeah.
And that's when you get that scenario where you have to rush to the toilet because you've just been holding on the whole time.
Mm.
But thankfully now I'm experienced at it, so I can kind of spot those things and we can break it up and stuff like that. So yeah, my job is mainly to make people as comfortable as possible and to engage with them and to give them the space to relax in whatever way they can as much as possible so that they can benefit from the treatment. So
Yeah, I think it's I've never thought about my bowel until about 2 years ago, and I haven't seen kind of a discomfort in it, and I was kind of thinking, what's that? It was going on for a few weeks, and I was kind of thinking, right, it's a bit long now, I better go and check. So, um, they kind of sent me to the hospital out in Ballinasloe there to just go to a specialist to talk about it. So I'm still waiting on an appointment. See, I think it's a CT scan they're going to put me through, but they think it's diverticulitis.
okay.
But because I've never experienced anything with the bowel, I realize now how you know if there is something wrong with it, how uncomfortable it all is, because it's like, for me, when I it's not there all the time, but when it is there, there's a kind of, it's just kind of feel a pressure on my stomach, and a very unpleasant feeling, because it's almost like you feel, um even when you've eaten only maybe a quarter of your meal, that you're full. It's an
Yeah.
odd kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Look, we don't. They think it's diverticulitis, and if it is, that's obviously sorted out kind of easily. But it's just to kind of come around to that idea that we probably all haven't thought about our bowels in that way.
Yeah.
And unless someone has come to us and said about a colonic and kind of put the thought in their head, it's not been kind of brought up, because of the squeamish factor, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I
how
think
was it? So when the first time you had a colonic, like, how was it for you? Were you very tense? Was it a pleasurable experience, or kind of a bit of a weird one for you?
for me, it was a bit of everything because I ended up it was part of my training. My
Yeah.
first step in my training was I had to have a colonic because I had to experience this. And this is when I was working in Spain. And there was the owner of the detox retreat that I was working in. She was the colonic therapist. So she was my boss and she was going to do the colonic on me, which was like not really something I wanted to experience at that time.
Yeah.
But like I had constipation issues my entire life from childhood, and like here I was in my 40s, and like I had made massive changes to my lifestyle. I was super healthy at that stage, but I still had constipation issues.
Mm.
And she had already broached the subject with me, and I had a really bad week where I hadn't been to the toilet in over a week, and I was like, it can't be any worse than what I'm currently feeling.
Mm.
So let's do it. And literally I always remember it's like, where has this been for 40 years?
Yeah.
This is the last bit of the puzzle that could have helped me years and years and years ago if I had known about it, or if anybody had even spoken to me about my bowel
Mm.
issues or movements, or made said, are you regular, do you know when you go, because I hadn't a clue.
Mm.
um so yes, it was a little bit embarrassing, but it literally was embarrassing for like 10 seconds,
Yeah.
because that's all it takes in the beginning is 10 seconds, and then it's just about tuning into how you're feeling. But for me it was kind of almost euphoric, because I felt like I have a solution.
Yeah.
I can resolve these things that I've been carrying around with me literally my whole life.
Yeah,
So
and it's like what people may need to hear, and because we don't talk about it enough, they're not hearing it. So
yeah.
it's great to talk about it, like, openly, and be honest about our
And it's
experiences.
really, and I'm really thankful to you for doing that, because it's so hard to get people to talk about it. I
Mm.
mean, you don't really get word of mouth business from
Yeah.
Colonics. A lot of people won't tell you
Yeah.
that they had one, but so that's why, for me, the social media and promotion side on Colonics is really important, because people don't talk about it.
Absolutely, yeah. And here's another thing that I wanted to mention, because it is, again, one of those things that I've only really started to think about over the last couple of years. But how important is gut health?
Oh my God. Like Hippocrates says, all disease begins in the gut.
Mm.
So, that tells you how important it is. I liken it to the science is now catching up with the the understanding bit by bit, and we don't even know the full story. So if you think of it like we have trillions of colonies of trillions of microbes living inside our gut, and they are communicating to us how we're experiencing the inner world and the outer world. So if they're out of whack, it can have such a knock-on effect in so many ways. Like people have heart palpitations, it can come down to their gut. They've got
Mm.
migraines, it could be their gut. They've got IBS, it's their gut. They have low mood, anxiety, it could be their gut. Like it impacts so many parts of our physical and mental and emotional
Mm.
selves that, it is just number one. And it's not necessarily going to be the resolution to all your issues. But if you're in a place where the gut is working and is as healthy as you can get it to be, then you have the energy and the physical capacity and space to deal with the other things that may need attention as well,
Yeah.
because like even from a nerve ending point of view, there's a vagus nerve which is connected to the brain, to the heart, to the gut, and that's where the signal pathways go. So if the gut is not sending its messages to the brain, and they say there's 9 times more messages come from the gut to the brain than the other way around. So that's where all your information is coming from. So if that's not getting through to the brain is kind of thinking, well, we have to fill a gap there, or I'll stick anxiety in there, or else,
Mm.
this is not safe. We won't do it because we don't have the full picture, or oh no, you can't eat that stuff. So, or, you feel terrible. It's all these things that are the little bits of the cogs in the wheel that are missing that help us make informed decisions about how we feel, how we interact, how we respond to circumstances and situations. So it is like, yes, everything else is important, but if you start with your gut,
Mm.
it gives you that opportunity to deal with the rest of it,
Yeah.
because it's very basic. It likes you. All it wants you to do is put the right stuff in and let the bad stuff out. It's
Yeah.
really simple. And like, if we can just manage to do that and just get that working, then you have, energy and headspace, and everything else can be looked at then. So
I didn't know a lot about um the connection between gut health and mental health, that there was a connection at all, really. And when I started to kind of read up about mental health, about anxiety and depression and things like that, to kind of help myself, gut started to come into it. But again, I started to concentrate a lot on physical stuff then, as in running or whatever I was doing. So then I had the kind of, well, I thought I had the mental health covered and the physical health covered. And you when you were saying about the gut coming first, I was putting it last. I was thinking, let's throw in maybe 3,000 calories, whatever it is. Not terrible stuff, but all right stuff, I suppose. Don't wanna call myself out, but a certain amount of food in there to kind of keep me going, and that was it. There was no thoughts of like, if I eat this, because you hear it so often, Sarah, that where someone eats something and they're like, oh, they're sitting on the couch and maybe feel a bit bloated or whatever the reaction is, but they'll do the exact same thing the next week. It's almost like, people get too drunk and they get a hangover, but they still go on and do the same thing. It's a weird thing.
yeah.
So, have you found a lot of people benefiting in on the mental health side of things then from gut health?
Oh God, yeah. Even myself,
Mm.
I mean, like, once I sorted out my own gut health, I was a much nicer person to be around. Like, I was always angry,
Mm.
cranky, be set off at the smallest thing sometimes, and nothing was enjoyable or easy. There was always like a negative element to it. And um you know like, it just, if you think about it, like, in terms of piles of rubbish, and if you're a person and you're living in an environment which is covered in rubbish, and every week more rubbish turns up
Mm.
and none of it gets moved on or collected, you get miserable,
Yeah.
you get angry, and then you start to feel unwell because all this stuff is around you. So that's what's happening inside your gut.
Mm.
The microbes are in there and they're trying to do their best, and they're fairly basic in some ways, because they're prehistoric, they're their most ancient part of us in a way. um and they just want to live in a nice environment, but
Yeah.
we just keep putting rubbish in there and not letting it go at the same time, or making it such a big event that you have to run to the loo, or you're in
Mm.
absolute agony, and then you end up taking something, and then it's a massive
Mm.
issue and episode. So like, it's always extremes, or it's like, I mean, living in rubbish, or there's like mayhem happening. So
Yeah.
nobody can operate in that environment. You can't live like that. That's like, firefighting all the time. So, and that absorbs energy from everything else that's
Yeah.
going, and your body is absolutely amazing. In particular, your gut, it will create workarounds to keep you alive,
Mm.
to keep you functioning to the best of your ability under the circumstances that it finds itself in. So, like, if you're suffering with constipation, it's going to stretch and expand the bowel so that you can keep moving. It'll get
Mm.
rid of whatever it can. So, it means some people end up suffering with diarrhea, but it's actually constipation because the body's just trying to get rid of
Yeah.
whatever toxins it can. It'll use your lungs to get rid of some of the waste. So, you'll get bad breath, or you'll get chest infections, or, respiratory issues. It'll use your skin. You'll get, acne or psoriasis or eczema or irritations, because it's trying to find another way to get rid of the
Mm.
waste, because the bowel's just not able to do it. And like, it's really, really doing its utmost to try and help you, but we're not helping ourselves.
Yeah. Nutrition, I've had a couple of nutritionists on, and there's so much information when it comes to nutrition, and I think people maybe kind of find it quite daunting because there's so much of it there, and they're kind of trying to figure out what's good for them. My dad, when we were growing up, he used to say, and he still does say, um, you can't eat better than that. And he'd say it about 45 things. Now, you can only say that once, you can't eat better than that, because that means that's the best thing. But so it was this running joke, because everything would be sprouts or broccoli or whatever it might be. And to be fair to both my parents, they always had vegetables in the diet and things like
Mm.
that. So we were always good that way. Can you give us what your tips might be for like, for people to improve their gut?
Uh, Number one is water.
Okay.
Top, top. Number one, water. We do not drink enough water and clean water.
Mm,
You know, I know that sounds like maybe faddish or whatever, but yeah, as much clean water as you can get is really, really important. And the second thing is fiber. And people have misunderstandings about fiber. They think you're talking about all brands or
mm,
cereals or brown breads or whatever. But I also mean the soluble fibers and the insoluble fibers. So you got the fibers from fruits, vegetables, those kind of things. Because if you look at, say, a piece of bread and you leave it out, and if you look at an apple and you leave it out, so the bread will go harder and harder.
mm,
If you're suffering with constipation issues, putting more of that in is not really gonna, it's just adding concrete to concrete in a way. So if you've got, carrots or vegetables, they stay soft. That fiber stays soft, and that's what you need to help. It's water, it contains water again, which is really important. So, those fibers, they feed the bacteria that are in your gut to help them thrive, which is what you need to help make the poo
mm,
to get it out of the body. So, you need to have those kind of fibers in there that have, and then they have to have enough water in them, because it has to have some water left in it so that it's heavy enough to get up against gravity, get across, and get back down
mm,
again. So, to make it get through the whole system, through the whole tubes, it needs a bit of that weight in it. So when people get dehydrated and then it just becomes too light, there's
mm.
no force behind it. It's just bobbing around to try and get it through the system. So fiber is absolutely essential, and we just don't eat enough in this country. And I think as well because an awful lot of our produce is grown halfway around the world,
Mm.
and it's in a chill freezer container until it gets here, and then in a chill room in the supermarket. So it's just not as nutritious or as fibrous as if it's grown down the road. I
Mm.
mean, I'm eating strawberries, Irish strawberries at the moment, and like they've lasted in the fridge for the whole week. Normally, I'd get home and 2 days
Mm.
they're gone because they've been in a chill container and in a
Yeah.
chill room and all that. So, and I also noticed the difference in the size of the foods from Spain when we moved back to Ireland. I mean, peppers used to be twice and three times the size of the stuff we're eating. Cucumbers the same,
Mm.
apples, everything, and because it was all grown locally, it was really tasty and you were getting it at that high taste. So it was
Yeah.
really easy to eat loads and loads of it. Whereas, it's not so easy here.
Yeah.
But we have, I think, as well, like what your dad would be saying about, the basic foods we always grew up on with the sprouts and the
Mm.
broccoli and the carrots and stuff. We've forgotten about those things. It all has to be rainbow, and you know, cabbage is great.
Yeah.
Stuff that grows in the back garden in Ireland in the wintertime is great. Red cabbage, Brussels sprouts, carrots, turnips, great fibers.
Yeah.
So it doesn't all have to be exotic and interesting. And if you only like two or three vegetables, just eat the two or
Just
three
yeah.
vegetables. It's
Yeah.
still a good vegetable fiber, and it's still got good nutrition in it. And you don't have to be, forcing yourself to eat stuff that you don't like. Because personally, I think that's bringing negative
Mm.
energy into your system. It's not creating the joy and the positivity that your cells are looking for. So yeah, if you only eat carrots and broccoli, eat carrots and broccoli.
Yeah.
Try and throw in an apple or something that you do like as well. But eat loads of it.
Yeah. It's funny how we have gone the way of, what's the correct term? Like, fancier foods, fancier healthy foods. Um, I know avocado's probably cheap shot at
That's
avocado
what
there,
I was thinking of.
but it is one of those, isn't it? Like, and I actually, to be honest, I love avocado, but I don't know when it's ripe. So I go into a shop center or a shop, and I'm never sure when it's ripe, and I've been caught too many times that way, so I kind of stopped eating it. But I think Another thing of going that route as well is the expense, because you really can start to load up on expense. And when you talk about things like turnips and broccoli and things like that are far cheaper to buy, and you say just as much fiber. And I honestly could live on, if I was going for vegetables like broccoli, carrots, peas, corn. I'd be delighted with that kind of mixture. And like you say, I think it's like trying to force the extravagant, in
Yeah.
inverted commas, fruit or vegetable on ourselves, just to be with the kind of the in thing to do at the time. And it doesn't, because my coach told me about that, about trying not to have, or trying not to build up a negative relationship with food. And by going along that route, it's very easy to kind of go that way, I think.
Yeah, it is. And it's very easy to make it like that it's a job. There's a
Mm.
work involved. You know what I mean? It's about sustenance, and food has become entertainment, you
Yeah.
know, or a lifestyle choice,
Mm.
and it's not, if food is about sustenance. Yes, the food is about entertainment, but that's a separate thing.
Mm.
That's celebration, but now it's like entertainment all the time. So which is why people end up eating, I don't like to use bad, but they eating celebration food
Mm.
all the time. If you talk about, you know, like traditional Eastern diets where there was no obesity and low heart issue rate, heart disease issues, and things like that. Those people lived on rice and vegetables.
Yeah.
And like what you buy in, say, a Chinese restaurant here is the food that they would eat for their week-long celebrations of Chinese New Year. They're rich,
Mm.
they're all really high intensity, but the rest of the time they eat rice and vegetables,
Yeah.
and that's where we need to get back to.
Yeah.
It's like, a bit of protein of whatever it is that works for you, and lots of like vegetables with some sort of carb in it, and the closer it is to its original form, the better,
Yeah.
So like I've listened to all these podcasts and watched all these things about, the biohacking and everything. Yeah. And yes, you can drill it down to the cellular level and figure it out, but who really has the time for that unless that's your job,
Yeah.
So, and I think we've lost the natural cycle of eating, like I was saying about the strawberries. We're in the sweet, high sugar, fruit
Mm.
harvesting time now, because the summer is long days. So, historically speaking, you would be out all day in the long day, working,
Mm.
physically doing something. So nature would provide high energy, high sugar foods at that time of the year, which wanes off then as you get into the autumn. Then it's more like of the grains and
Mm.
the carbs and the potatoes and all that kind of thing is ready for you then to sustain you into the winter. And in the winter is the time where we would end up losing the weight
Mm.
because there'd be less food. You'd have things like your sprouts and your cabbages, which would keep you going. And then you would have your pickles, which are fermented, which are amazing for your gut. So that
Mm.
cleans out the gut of all the high sugar stuff from the summer. And then you're kind of in your fast mode. So you're ready for the spring when all the new stuff comes ready
Mm.
to be eaten. So, we've lost that cycle.
Yeah.
It's continuous high energy, high sugar. Everything is about the sweetness of something rather than, we don't eat bitters anymore, which feed certain elements of our microbes and things like that and help control things and keep things in balance. It's all about the hit, the celebration, the
Mm.
entertainment value of it, So I think we just
Yeah.
need to get simple, you know, look at what we can eat that we like, that doesn't come from a million miles away, is easy to make, easy to cook, and makes us feel good. So, and it feeds us, it sustains us.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
I agree. I'm very much, not that I have a very, not limited or not too broad palate, but I definitely wonder where I'm happily eat the same thing every day, but it's a pretty decent diet. But I need to get better at looking at the health or the good side of things, which is it's going to come from this now. But could you tell us the idea then, Sarah, about the good for all cards?
Ah, yes, that's my new business that I launched during the lockdown because my wellness treatments were obviously closed the
Mm.
whole time. Um, And it's something that was kind of a few notions that were in my head, let's say, for the last while, because I spend an awful lot of time referring people on for other treatments. So I think, well, they might need something to help with their energy, or maybe they come in for a massage and it's actually too uncomfortable for them, because so I think reflexology might help them,
Mm.
and or acupuncture or whatever. So I've had a lot of people that I know that I can refer people onto, and what I found was that a lot of people had never heard of the treatment and certainly had no idea where to go to get the treatment. So I was like, there's so many amazing practitioners out there that I know. Why doesn't everybody know about them?
Mm.
So I wanted to find a way to make it simple for people to find the treatments and the therapies and the therapists, and know that they would be, of a certain quality, of a high enough quality, and that they would be genuine. They've done their training. They're actually the right kind of people to go to. Um, so that was the part of it, that to create the directory of practitioners that people can go to. But I also wanted to find a way, because like I said, the people who come to me on a regular basis really see the benefits. I see it in them, they see it in them, their families see it in them. So I wanted to find a way to help more people achieve that.
Mm.
So I was thinking if they had some sort of a fund or a little budget that was just there for their wellness treatments. So that's where the gift card came into it, so that that's their fund. They
Mm.
have money on that card, and it can only be used for self-care, wellness treatments and therapies. So they can't buy sausages or kids' shoes or anything with it,
Yeah.
So it means it's focused, and they have to use it to look after themselves. And I think then you see, because if people can look after themselves, they can be better,
Mm.
and they can do better, and everybody benefits then, and I just wanted to create that so that it would make it easier for them, and like that, to support our industry and to highlight the benefits of it, and how
Mm.
much it like every single person that I know who's a practitioner, their aim is to help people.
Yeah.
That's why we do what we do. um but people don't seem to understand that, or maybe grasp that, and I honestly believe that, like, there's enough clients for everybody. Even if there's 20 massage therapists doing massage in the same town or whatever, I still think there's enough clients for
Mm.
everybody. And there's enough different types of therapies and treatments for everybody. Some people, it'll be reflexology, that's their thing. Other people, it'll be Reiki. Somebody else, it's acupuncture. And that's great, because we're all individual,
Mm.
we're all different. It doesn't have to be just one thing. So if I can get as many people to find a way to those self-care treatments or ways that they can help themselves, then that's my ultimate success. That's
Mm.
what I'm aiming for. So that's where Good for All came from.
I think it's brilliant, and for me, what would work would be the idea that it's a constant reminder that it's there, and I kind of like having like something physical there that's in front of me, whether it's pinned to the wall or it's stuck in the desk or whatever it might be, that it's always there. But what that does, it takes it a step further to a place where you remembering wellness and how you should take care of yourself. Because I think a lot of people, obviously I don't include myself in this, but it's people who have families and kids running around, and it's so easy to get kind of caught up in all of that without taking that little bit of time, that little bit of, something sparking your head to say, I need to do, go for a massage or whatever it might be. And I like the idea that it's there to remind people that you need to take this time for yourself, this hour or whatever it might be, whatever length of time. I think it's a brilliant idea. Before we go into the last bit, can you tell us where people can find you actually?
So I'm based in Maynooth.
Mm.
And so that's where I have my treatment rooms for my massage and colonics. So that's sarahbreslinwellness.com. And then the Good for All is available online. So it's goodforall.ie.
And also on Instagram and all the other.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah. I need to throw that in as well, because I've got to cover all the
Well,
bases.
it takes up so much of your working life.
It does.
And then you forget about it. So
It's funny. I didn't never thought about any of that stuff until I started the podcast, and then realized, oh, actually, there's quite a bit that has to go into this
yeah.
thing.
And that was another part of the Good for All thing, because I haven't, like I was saying, creating the business and making it a success, but I made me realize how much effort goes into, the social media, the posting, the scheduling, all of that. There's a lot of work. And I know most practitioners are one person businesses like myself. So I wanted to help them with that side of the business as well, so that we can do part of that for them, you know. And
Mm.
like most of them wouldn't have a big budget or anything like that. So it's like if we can get the national awareness of the wellness and the therapies, and then they're there and
Mm.
people can find them easily, and we can promote them on our social media platforms, and in you know, promote their blogs and things like that. So it just takes a little bit of the pressure off them
Yeah,
and gives them another option, so that they're having the presence without having all the stress and the work involved in it. So
exactly. Yeah, it helps everyone. It's great.
it's good
Um,
for all.
it's very much so. It's almost like you thought about that before you got the. It's very good. Um, Sarah, what do you like to do in your spare time?
Well, I love to walk. So that's the thing that has kept me going through the lockdowns, is having the going for the walk for an hour or so every day. Um, and one of my other passions is actually knitting. And I know a lot
Oh,
of
nice.
people don't get that, but yeah, it's definitely something that has kept me sane
Mm.
in all sorts of times. Yeah, yeah. So I started when I was probably in probably when I was first came across my, you know, mental health
Mm.
awareness, when I was in that leaving cert 17, 18 age. Um, my mom was a great woman for the knitting and the sewing, and she had knitting machines, and she taught me how to use them. Um, because I actually went through a really bad year at that time, and I stayed at home. I never went out for the whole
Okay.
year, but I got into the knitting, and it was a really great outlet for me. It's a creative process. I
Mm.
could start something and see something created from it. And, you know, I got great feedback, you know, so it made me feel good about myself, that there was something I could do. Um, so, and that stayed with me forever. You know, I just love it. It's repetitive, it's meditative, it's creative, but it has function and form at the same time. So the structure to it. So,
Mm.
um,
I
yeah.
like I like the meditative side of things. Now, this is something I wanted to bring up because this is something I discovered this week. Um, there's nothing productive on my side of things when it comes to this. By the way, it's clearly actually I don't know what it is. I mentioned to Sarah before recording, and I think I said on the podcast before, I like watching chiropractors work, but I found this new thing. It came up on the YouTube recommendations, all right, and nobody judge me because if you go and look at it, you really like it. Right? It's this guy called the Hoof GP. So he pretty much gives kind of manicures or pedicures to cows. So like he'll hook up one of the feet. I know you're trying not to laugh there. I can see it, but he hooks up one of the paws. No, feet. Is it cows and feet?
Hooves.
Hooves. Better. Uh, so but it's really interesting because it's just the way you kind of start thinking about the animal and how I wonder how the animal's feeling about that. There's like, because we have cows around, and I've learned since I moved out here 12 years ago almost that I really like cows and calves. I think they're brilliant. They're great animals. And he lifts the hoof and he starts chipping away at it and stuff. But they find like nails in there sometimes and like stones and sometimes there's like pretty graphic stuff, like, you know, if it has an infection or something like that. I don't know why, but like I think for probably around 3 hours yesterday, I just watched it. I just sat there and watched like cows being looked after, and it's. Do you know what's the strange bit about it, right? So you know, like if you're just listening to this, you won't see it, but I'm showing like the way the hoof has got two sides to it, like almost like that. So if one is particularly bad, they need to not have the animal be on it. So they'll get this kind of step. It's like a rubber step, and they glue it to the other side of the hoof, and so it keeps the animal. And then the other one, they treat it, and then they'll wrap it up in a big cloth thing, gauze, and off the cow goes, and you feel good because the cow's no longer in pain, or is not like limping anymore, because he explains, and he's a Scottish guy, and he explains that sometimes if he can't do what he needs to do, that's the end for the cow. Like, so you almost feel like it's the cow's second chance, and it makes you feel quite good. So yeah, people are going to judge me for this for sure,
But
but
in a way, it's like that, you know, you're tuning into the fact that somebody is caring.
mm, he's
Somebody
lovely. Yeah,
you
He
know.
he's really lovely fella. He comes across really well, real softly spoken guy. Obviously brilliant at his job.
Mm,
Very explains when he's made a mistake. He's not, editing the video out and things like
yeah.
that. But all he's there for the animals, like, and you get a sense of kind of
Well, that's it,
warmth.
because he's fulfilling his purpose. So you're getting
Yeah.
into that, tuning into that energy that, he's feeling fulfilled. He's happy in what he's doing. He's making a difference in the way he wants to in the world. And that's probably the energy that comes through.
Yeah, and I think 3 hours is probably a bit much, but I need to cut it down next Saturday. Um, how difficult? So, because you mentioned it just there when we were talking about the good for all cards, how difficult has the last year been, and what are you kind of looking forward to now as we're moving ahead?
So I have to say, initially in the very first lockdown, I did go into complete meltdown.
Mm,
I hit, it was like, what's the point? Everything in my head was just, what's the point? What's the point of me getting out of bed? What's the point of me doing anything? Because I work one to one with people, everybody was pivoting and going online, and I just couldn't see a way for me to do that,
mm,
and I just stopped in the end. I said, okay, you just have to stop. You're putting yourself into, down a rabbit hole here where who knows if you'll come out of it. So you need to just stop and switch focus. So I switched over to helping making sewing masks at the time in the very beginning when there was a shortage, and that just gave me something to do,
mm,
and but it has been tough because, like I say, interacting with people and doing treatments is part of my why,
mm,
my purpose, and that was all taken away from me. I actually feel a little bit emotional even in saying that, like, and that was all taken away from me, and through no fault of my own. And even in terms of my business and my income and supporting my family, like, that was all gone, taken away from me, and I had worked so hard to build up this business,
mm,
and in one day it was shut down, and like, I'm really blessed. I got all the supports from the government that were available to me, and they kept you going, but you're always at the thinking, you could never just switch off from it. It was there all the time.
mm,
When am I going to open? What is it going to be when I'm going to open? When I reopened, I mean, my family will tell you I was like an absolute lunatic the first 2 days, because I was on so hyper about, have I put everything in place? Have I
mm.
got all the right measures? What if somebody gets sick? Have I done enough? Is it going to be okay? I mean, I was literally like a lunatic after the first day. My husband had to take me and walk me down the road to calm me down. Like, so, you've got that stress because you're caring about people as well. And it's been a long, hard couple of 18 months, even though I'm in a really lucky position in terms of my family support and
Mm.
the structures around me. But it's like, so much of what you've put into your business is just taken away from you. And like, when you do what, something that's of yourself and about yourself as well, it's a little bit of you is taken
Mm.
away, and you're wondering, why, what the hell did I do wrong to
Yeah.
make it happen, and like, the only saving grace was, everybody else was in the same position, that once you got through it, you realize, look, it's nothing you did or didn't do, and that was the thing that kept me going. So, and then I was really lucky in that I did get connected with the local enterprise office, who got me a marketing mentor, and then we got onto the good for all idea, and I've had that to keep me going as well. But it's great to be back open, it really is.
It's crazy to think that what was taken away from yourself and for other entrepreneurs, that but for you in particular, with the idea of you like being around people, you like caring for people and helping people, and that's taken away as well. So it's
Mm.
like a double whammy,
Yeah.
and then for you to kind of try and sit at home. And at the start, look, at the start, everybody's, I know everybody's in the same boat, but we're not, immediately all thinking that. It's just because you're focusing so much on yourself and what you need to do. Um, so for you to go from that position to go to somewhere else and kind of think on your feet and think, I can get to, I can do this, and hopefully it works out. I think some people were forced into this kind of creative process that, that it was always there, but it didn't have to come out, I guess.
Yeah.
You were always doing something for your business, but then that idea comes along in the time of a crisis situation, and something great has come from something that was pretty
Yeah,
terrible, really.
absolutely. And it's like, it just, again, it's about you're, the circumstances were the same for everybody, let's say, for a lot of people. It's how you choose to respond to it,
Mm.
and that's a lot about how you cope with life. It's how you choose to respond to it, and that's within ourselves. We all have that choice to how we choose to respond to it. And like, I am blessed to have that kind of awareness
Mm.
for a long time now. So I know that, when I'm going down that rabbit hole, I know I have to stand back and look at what can I choose to do here,
Yeah.
and like, in the end, it became a blessing, because I had the time away from client work to create the new business
Mm.
and to get it up and running, and to get it to the place where I now have other people involved who can do some of the stuff while I'm back working with clients. So and I'm really hopeful that I'm really, 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 really hoping that there is no more rollbacks
Yeah.
on lockdowns and things like that, that we just continue to move forward. And I think we're at a really positive place in society, in that we have a real opportunity here because everybody has had a moment to sit back and think, why? Why do I do it this way? What am I doing? Just because we always did it this way no
Mm.
longer means we should continue to do it that way. And I'm really hopeful that that will make for bigger changes in how we educate, and how we work, in how our healthcare is delivered, how our government operates, how public service happens,
Mm.
because everybody has been forced to rethink how they do things. And I really hope that that's an opportunity that we, you know, let go of the mindset of the Victorian society, which has been hanging on for far too long, and that we
Mm.
actually move into the 21st century and start to take advantage of what we do have in society, and make the most of it. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting out and meeting people, and you know I was at an event on Friday, which was amazing, in person, and it was great. Yeah, so just to actually, be out in the world again.
Yeah.
Yeah, really
Oh,
looking.
fully. And do you know what I've during this lockdown, I've got to meet all the Breslins, which is it's incredible. But no, but I should mention actually Jer as well, because during lockdown I got to discover Jer's talent of making brilliant jewelry,
Amazing, yeah.
amazing jewelry. I got to give one as a gift to my mom for Christmas, and then she went and bought another one for herself. So all those little kind of things that came from it. Obviously, this podcast was part of that kind of situation as well, the kind of rolling situation that came from it. And it's about, we always try to end the podcast on those kind of positive notes, where we've especially at this time, because maybe in a year's time, well, hopefully a year's time, we won't be so worried about lockdowns or what, this kind of, we'll have moved away from it, over the hill and far away kind of a thing. um Sarah, it's been a proper pleasure chatting to you today.
Thank you so much. It's been really enjoyable.
It was great. I can't believe how quickly the time flew by, to be
I
honest.
can't believe it either.
It's bad. Could you stick with me for 1 minute? I just want to get a photo with you at the end. I'll just close this out, and I want to say congratulations to John Francis, my second in command, for passing his driver's test. We're going to have the weekly Wheatley Road Show at any time now. Once we get him, get a lot of petrol in that car, and we'll get going. So thanks to John, and for all his work during the week, as usual. Thanks to my mum, my dad, my granddad, Jer and Calvin. Subscribe to our YouTube, like I said earlier. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, Anchor, Google Podcasts, etc. As always, to the people listening and watching, thank you very much. And Sarah, once again, thanks a million for coming on.
Thanks very much, Eric. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And everybody else, we'll catch up with you next week. Take care. Bye.